you were kind of the poster boy for Premier drums, along with Rod Morgenstein. And I remember I've had your posters on my wall. Premier has been a part of my life since I was probably, I don't know, 10 years old, I guess. And you've played Premier for a long time. I know you don't anymore. Obviously, they're not the company they were.
I played Premier for 25 years.
Wow.
From 78 to 03.
Yeah.
And why? Because I discovered this 252 pedal, which I see one right up there over your head.
It is, yes.
I discovered that. And then because, the way the foot plate lifts, you need to have a hi-hat that was the same.
Yep. There we go. So there we
go.
If anybody's not familiar, there it is.
There's that baby. And so you see how the lifted foot plate is. Yep. And so I had to get the Premier hi-hat that went with it. Oh, you got one of the new ones with the slots in them. I had the solid foot plate.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. This is
I don't know how different they are, but I got used to the solid foot plates. I never played that one. But anyway, I started using the Premier hardware, and I don't remember exactly what led me to seek an endorsement. But I, love Phil Collins, love Keith Moon. I loved a lot of Premier drummers, and I love British rock bands, in general, from the early rockers, of course, to Cream, and I just like the English vibe of how the English interpreted American music, because that's what they did, right? The Jeff Beck group with Rod Stewart. These are all the bands I used to go see in high school, and so, I approached them at the time. Jim Coffin, rest in peace, who was later with Yamaha drums for many years. He was the guy who signed me to Premier in 78. And I stayed with them many years. And as we were chatting a little before we went on live here, I did a really great tour of the UK and Scotland with Premier, where we just, every night we were at a different drum shop. We must have did, I don't know, 15 Amazing. Different drum shops in a couple of weeks. It was just one a day. So I got to visit the factory, and so I had in Leicester, right? And I had these magazines and all their catalogs, and it was a real thrill for me to visit the factory.
Yeah. Oh, just because the factory was a very iconic building. If you remember, with the semicircle, with the glass, with all the kits,
big time. Yeah.
Beautiful. Sadly no longer there, but I think it's a supermarket now or something. But it's a shame. But yeah, just what we need. The supermarket. I think, were you playing? I think from memory, was it Projector? You played for the Projector series for quite a while, if you can remember.
I played Elite.
Okay.
Elite, started with Elite.
Yeah.
And then the Black Shadow came out, but I really fell in love with the Soundwave sound. And I asked them if they would make me a Soundwave kit with a Black Shadow finish.
Right.
And I still have that kit. It's the kit I used on the video, double bass drumming.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, that's a Soundwave kit with a Black Shadow finish.
Wow.
Then when I started touring, I really didn't want to take that drum set out because they were just so beautiful. I asked them to make me one of those black, regular, what do you call that coating, vinyl or plastic vinyl? The regular wrap, right. Yeah. And so they made me that. And when it came in, it just looked sterile, So I hired this guy who did like race cars, and he pinstriped it.
Wow.
And that was the kit that I used on many records in the late 80s. Both Vinnie Moore records that I did, both everything of that era, Fiona's records.
Yeah.
They were all with that Soundwave pinstripe kit.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then from there, I went to, talking Premier, I went to Signia, the maple shells.
Now,
I didn't like them as much as the Soundwave. And it didn't have so much to do with maple versus birch. it had more to do with Soundwave used to reduce the shell diameter slightly, and the head overhung,
Yes.
and the toms had that timpani vibe. I love that. They sounded big. They were easy to tune. And I harped on them for that. Like, oh God, you got to bring that back. So that's what Janista was. Janista was, let's do Birch like Soundwave. And that was the last kit I had, I think, with Premiere before I signed the DW
Well, I spoke
in 2003.
I spoke to Charlie Morgan, who had a lot to do with, I know you and Charlie are friends, and I spoke to Charlie about, he had a lot to do with, the design. And he actually mentioned in one of our conversations, he said, oh, I went over and spoke to Joe and he wanted them to be more undersized, and I thought it's just fascinating how all this.
Yeah. Charlie's great. I met him when he was playing with Elton and saw a bunch of his shows, and we became good buds now. I think he's living down in Nashville now.
Yes. That's right. But, your name and face is synonymous with Premier and always will be for me. I know you play Drum Workshop now, great drums, but whenever I see your face...
I got a bunch of their snare drums right there. There's a lot of Premiers up on that shelf. The pink one's the Twisted the kit. Yeah, that was a projector. That was a pink projector kit. Yeah,
beautiful. So whenever I'm looking at you now, I'm going back to the Premier poster on my wall as a kid. So